Hi, this is Christina Singh, and this is another issue of the Right News. This episode is going to look at the Vatican and the Catholic Church and the role that the Vatican, Pope Francis, has in this whole unfolding of the COVID interruption. So, Pope Francis was brought into the Vatican almost at the behest of the globalists. And the diplomat that got him into this role was none other than Cardinal Theodore McCarrick, who has been in the center of a huge sexual abuse scandal involving young seminarians. This cleric was the happy diplomat of the Obama administration and then continuing on into the Biden administration. He is a lackey for the globalists, and he played his role happily, traveling on many business junkets to far-flung destinations that also included China. And the Pope, our current Pope Francis, is very much today a very benign and happy, consummate supporter of all that is in the globalist agenda. So before the issue of the pandemic arose, they had used climate change as the issue that would stir up and cause division in the Catholic Church, because the globalists realized that the one powerful resisting force for their plan was the Catholic Church. Because don't forget, Catholics are anti-abortion, pro-life. Catholics are against the gender ideology and gender dysphoria. Catholics are, of course, against child abuse, sexual abuse, and of course, Catholics are very much traditional, and they are certainly not part of the communist ideology. And in fact, none more so than the Catholics are against the threat of Marxism and communism. And so if you look at the history of the Catholic Church, it has always been persecuted by those who want to rob us and the world of these traditional values. And so today we have come to the sorry state of where the family is close to being destroyed. There is very much so the popular gender ideology that is being flaunted by the LGBTQI alphabet soup community. And also, of course, there is the ever harangue against life, the sanctity of life and the sanctity of marriage and the sanctity of everything that is sacred to the Catholic Church. We are being persecuted once again. In China, the church has had to go underground, and there is one lone voice in Cardinal Zen, Bishop Zen. There is growing resistance, but it is all underground. Priests are made to resign those who speak up against what is happening. And the Pope has gone so far as to allow the bishops in Germany to bless the unions of homosexuals. So we know what's coming next. There will be more and more and more of this. And we see it unraveling now before our eyes. And so one of the things that Our Lady of Fatima, when she appeared in an apparition in 1970, What she said to the Catholic Church then was that Russia had to be consecrated, Russia had to be converted, and that has never been done, not till today. And so, of course, communism has infiltrated every sector of our society. And this is no truer than the story of Bella Dodd, who was a communist, every inch a communist, and she shares her story. And if you look in the links attached to this video, you can see her story spoken in person and how she reveals and exposes, because she later converts to Catholicism, how communism infiltrates every segment of our society, from our political parties to our schools to our communities to unions, you name it, they are there. And they could be your neighbor, they could be your colleague at work, and they are doing the dirty work of the communists in spreading the ideology. And that is why the Pope has kept silent on the massacre and the genocide of the Uyghurs in China, the prosecutions of his flock in many countries around the world. And so this is just a small part of what is happening in the Catholic Church today. In fact, there is not proven, but there is evidence that is coming out that the Church, the Vatican Church, receives up to $2 billion from Communist China because of the scandals, the sex scandals, and the Church has had to pay for these in legal costs. The Church is now at a deficit. And so Vatican goes to the German bishops because they have lots of money, and so he kowtows to them, and as well as the Communist Party in China. And so we can understand perhaps why he is so happy to have open dialogue, to preach doing good and being compassionate and having mercy and preaching the gospel of liberty. But be wary if you are Catholic. This is a wolf in sheep's clothing. And so if you look in the description of this episode, you will find the links to all of the things that actually prove that Pope Francis is not actually the pontificate who should uphold the tradition and the moral values of the Catholic Church. He is in fact fracturing it, and he is destroying it because he is actually wanting to support the Communist Party and the communist ideology. And I think the most graphic form of how he supports it is in a recent conference that was held for the magisterium, which is the body of the church, the bishops, the clergy. They were invited to a special conference on mind, body, soul, and spirit, I think it was, where they invited Dr. Fauci, the CEOs of Moderna, Pfizer, Big Tech was there, as well as Chelsea Clinton, who is a pro-abortionist, and the lady who champions the gorillas and is an evolution Darwinian believer. So what is the Pope doing with all of these very secular and definitely non-Catholic ideology supporting people, speaking to his priests and his bishops, educating them on mind, body, and soul? It should be the other way around. So for those of you who are Catholics and watching this, please go to lifesitenews.com. That's where you find the alternative media. And as all alternative media, the platform was deplatformed, and but it has had lots of alternative channels ready because they knew that this was to come. And so go to livesitenews.com. I'll have the link there for you as well, attached to this episode. And for those of you who are not Catholics, you may understand now why the Pope and the Vatican was so important, because it provided the moral support for this whole global plan. And the Pope was spring coming to the communist ideology. I'm sorry that this has been so dire a message, but I think the hope is that it is actually drawing more traditional Catholics together to resist this dark force. And many non-Catholics are actually joining forces with us, because we will really have to resist this evil. Thank you.